Pairing a live stream. Oh, how does oh, how does this one sound now?
That was
Testing.
okay. I think that
Your other one was clearer.
the first one with your mic closer where we could see the beautiful red of the actual microphone was the
Okay.
best sounding. Okay. I think that
Your other one was clearer.
the first one with your mic closer where we could see the beautiful red of the actual microphone was the best sound.
There we go. Don't have delay in that. Okay, well, anyway, this is just a lapel mic, wireless lapel mic. So I thought I'd give this a whirl. So this is the test for the wireless lapel mic. So I'm going to go back to the other one. Just give me 2 seconds.
Okay. Welcome, Shane and Michael. Is Christy going to be joining us tonight?
Yes, she is joining us. She's struggling to find the Zoom. I'll send you the link, honey.
Lovely.
Okay. I'll sit more like this. There we go.
Yeah, that's better sound.
Yeah,
Yep.
that mic is a lot clearer.
Oh, good.
Much better sound.
Good. Good, good, good.
So Leslie, good to see you. Michael, I'm glad you're here. Colin, Brent. Christy, lovely to have you join us.
Thank you. I was struggling.
Pardon me?
I was struggling. I couldn't find this Zoom link. I was trying to do all the other ones.
Oh, dear.
And then Shane's like, I'll send it to you. I'm like, no, I will find it.
All right.
Christy, you mind if I ask you a few questions?
Hey, Shane,
Yes.
would you be open to pinning that until we get through the intro and then I would love to hear what your questions are. All right, are we
We're
ready?
good to go. We are live on YouTube,
Right.
so take it away.
Okay. Tim.
All right. Just a few announcements really quick before we get going here. Our next 5-day business challenge is April 7th through the 11th. And times on that is 10 to 11 a.m. Mountain, and that is 9 to 10 a.m. Pacific. And let's see, that would be noon to 1 Eastern. The VIP is directly after that, and it's for a small fee. I don't remember exactly what it is, Blair.
$47.
$47. $47 for the VIP that's directly afterwards, and that is more one-on-one time with Blair and more direct working with your business. And so he's got that coming up again, April 7th through the 11th. So look forward to that. And we also have Blair's insider notes that's all the BDEs from episode 318 to current. This is episode tonight will be 338. You get all the historical from 318 moving up to today's episode. And this gives you a deeper inside look to what we're talking about each week with the mind models. And it's $25 a month, $300 a year. And again, it's more that way you have all the notes from everything that we've talked about, and you can go deeper into the mind models that we're discussing.
Mhm.
I'll drop this in the chat.
Yeah, and we'll drop those links real quick in the chat for those of you that are with us. And if you're interested in those insider notes, you can go to www.blairdunkley.com /BDE insider notes and grab those. And with that, we'd like to welcome you to tonight's episode, which is the 338th episode of the Blair Dunkley Experience, where we discuss mind models. Mind models are a collection of extensively tested thought frameworks, skills, and behaviors that enable people to transform their lives intentionally. Your host for this evening is Blair Dunkley, the creator of mind models. We are Tim and Becky Graff, your co-hosts and certified mind model coaches, along with the amazing Patty McClurg and Colin Jewett, who is actually going through the mind model coach training as we speak to become a coach. So he's a coach in training, and we're looking forward to him becoming a mind model certified coach as well. Mind models have helped Becky and I personally in every area of our lives, not only in the business that we've created together, but personally resolving an 8-year issue in our marriage within a few hours, to the navigation of grief and PTSD from a tragic accident in 2020, where we lost both of our daughters. Mind models have allowed us to become more effective and increase our capacity and speed of recovery without traditional counseling. And with that, the BDE is Blair's free gift to you and is an opportunity for you to learn and experience and practice mind models in a safe, real-world environment. And we look forward to exploring tonight's discussion with you and welcome you to the 338th episode of the Blair Dunkley Experience. So welcome.
And if you guys are on YouTube, please make sure you comment, like, and subscribe. If you guys want to be on the Zoom with us right here, you can get access by going to rewiringthemind.com/weekly-webinar, and you can be able to sign up and you can join us all here live on Zoom, so you can ask questions in real time. So if that's something you're interested in, please make sure that you do that. With that, any leftovers or feedback, anything that came up for anybody since last week that they wanted to talk about before we dive into new material? If not, we can just go ahead and dive in. Nothing? Okay. All right, you guys. So tonight we're going to be talking about inspiration versus motivation. And this one is a fun pairing, I would say a fun mind model, because it has so much depth and application. And I think sometimes we're not even consciously aware of where our behaviors are coming from. So first question I have is, what do you understand about motivation? And I'm
Can I
not.
make a quick comment though?
Oh,
Jane,
sure.
would you mind adjusting your background? It's going to throw people off because it says 337 and it's 338.
Oh, Jane, not me. Okay.
Yeah, Jane. Did I say no? Okay.
No.
It cut out. I didn't hear. So
Oh,
I heard background adjustments. So I didn't know if you were talking to me or not.
okay. No, it was Jane.
She had the 338 up before, so I'm not quite sure what happened.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay, well, this is episode 338, and we're going to be talking about inspiration versus motivation. So I posed the question, who would like to share how they understand motivation? Or I will call on someone. Shane.
Motivation is when Christy needs something done and she sticks a foot in my butt and says, "Let's go. Let's get
So-
it done."
so
Get
who's
motivated.
So who's motivated, you or her?
I'm motivated to make her happy.
Okay. Christy, do you have anything to add to that conversation? You want to weigh in on his perception?
I don't think you want me to, probably. If this is probably PG, so man. Well, this is the first of the month, so it's always crazy busy. Doesn't need to be, but somehow I do because I put everything off, and then like, oh gosh, this is the beginning of the month. I have all this stuff coming in, so I guess that's something that motivates me is to and I get grumpy because I put it all to the end. So I mean, Shane's theory isn't totally wrong. However, yeah, come back to me on that.
No worries. And you actually brought up some really cool things that I'd like to dig in a second. But I'd like to pull some other people. What do you understand about motivation? So Shane said it's a boot up his butt by Christy to get stuff done. Christy says that there's some reality, some real to that, but also she feels more motivated when there's a sense of urgency. That's what I got from what she said. A sense of urgency with tasks, motivated to get it done because there's urgency. How about anyone else? What do you understand about motivation, or where does it come from for you, Jane?
I know that for me, when I'm motivated, it's a high energy thing, but it wanes after a while. And usually it's because the motivation came from someone else. Like I've just gotten back from an event and, that was like, wow, and wow, but then, life happens and things interrupt and, I've got other deadlines that I need to meet and that motivation just kind of goes away, which I'm gonna kind of segue, since I know the difference between motivation and inspiration versus when and I remember going through those things in my competition years. Brent probably can relate to this. It does come and go. However, when it comes from inside, even when it's raining out, I went out and practiced. Even when, I'm just really tired, I'd rather not, I would go, but what's my competition doing? They're out practicing. And I would just get out there and do it anyway. And that's where is because it came from inside instead of somebody going, oh, wow, you are just so fat, wow, and we could do, and you could, and millions of dollars, it's a completely different external versus internal, I guess is where I'm going with that.
Yep.
Okay. Awesome. Thanks for sharing. Blair, did you have something you wanted to add?
Nope. Just said, yep.
Okay.
But other than the fact that I love your red sweater, Jane.
Oh, thank you. It's actually a happy coat.
Oh, well, it looks happy to me.
The back.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Love it.
Mickey Mouse.
This was from my mom. She was a big Mickey Mouse fan. And it's really warm. And
Nice.
since it's that cold today, I don't know what the heck is going on,
Janet loves Mickey Mouse. She's a
Janet?
nut about Mickey Mouse. Anyway, enough of that.
All right. Colin, how about you? What are your thoughts?
Oh, lots of thoughts. So I guess from my coaching experience, I would say what I would hear from people was more similar to what Jane was saying at the beginning of people getting rah, like pump me up, give me the pep talk, get hyped, and kind of like just get an energy boost to ride out for a little bit. On like the more psychological side, there's like the words that they use in psychology is like intrinsic and extrinsic motivation. And a book I'd throw out there if anyone's interested, it's really an interesting book. It's called Punished by Rewards. It's worth checking out. But goes into lots of different studies about how when people are extrinsically motivated, in other words, somebody's using praise or money or like treats or whatever to try to motivate somebody, it undermines intrinsic motivation pretty reliably over time.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting when you look at like how we as a society tend to try to motivate people, kicking ourselves or shooting ourselves in the foot most of the time.
Kind of a vicious cycle, isn't it? We'll get into that in a minute. Patty, do you have anything you'd like to add?
There was a long time that I really had this kind of upside down. And like Colin and Jane were saying, I wanted to be motivated from outside. I felt like that was where it came from. But the things that I have accomplished in my life came more from an inner drive. And so more of a self motivation. And I don't know that you can necessarily motivate somebody from the outside. I'm wondering if that's more of a manipulation than an actual motivation. Just a thought that I was having when Colin was talking.
And it makes me wonder is if it's a smushing of desired results. So you want to motivate someone, you want to see them succeed, you want to motivate your kids to perform well in school, right? And so to Colin's point, we build in treats. If you do this, then kind of a scenario. And so it's something that builds. And so I'm wondering if it's just a lack of awareness of what we're talking about tonight. What is the real difference, and how can we utilize a little bit more clarity and separation between what it is we're actually wanting to see and also our role in that? Brent, you have any thoughts?
You want to hear my thoughts?
I
Okay.
do.
Thank
I would
you.
love to hear your thoughts.
Well, I remember we went over this a couple times here lately, was inspiration versus motivation in the two different courses, and it really made it a little more clear. As a motivation, something that's when it's effective is internally driven from you, and then as it's external, even if it seems a little bit, the motivation coming from the outside is more, like Colin was saying, it becomes ineffective, but it leans towards that inspiration piece. So it doesn't last from with you from within, because it's coming from the outside. So as was it just Patty some or excuse me, but it was the as from somebody else that inspire we want, or Becky, it was wanting to inspire somebody else or push them. We want to motivate them to do something, but to be more effective would be to inspire them to get moving, so that way they're able to motivate themselves to accomplish something, which would be then work, instead of the opposite of trying to push them to do something or force them to do something, which they're not essentially motivated, but you're forcing them and then giving them some reward at the end, like, kind of tricking them into doing something that they may not really want to do or are driven to do, just because it's a result that you're looking for on the outside, but not from the other person. So,
What mind model does that sound like?
mm, well, excuse, which part? The whole thing,
Oh,
or
what mind models might fit in the scenario that you just beautifully talked about? Inspired,
Mm.
like we want to motivate somebody, we want certain things. What mind models might be at play?
Well, you got the self-other situation,
Mhm.
risk, trust, honesty,
Mhm.
um, clarity versus certainty, um, uh, asking questions, like ask versus tell. So, let's see, name out of the ones.
So you got a lot going on, right?
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, what
Yeah.
curiosity, or curiosity or lack of curiosity, could be
Mhm.
one there. So, thanks, Shane. I saw, was that you with the
We got
Rockets?
kisses and thumbs up from Blair.
Thumbs
Love.
up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
isn't it interesting in the way in which we're behaving to how we see things, which concepts we have at play, maybe unconsciously. What I got from what you were sharing is, like the three P's of questioning is proving and positioning.
Mhm.
If I do it, if I show you how to do this, right? I want to
Yeah.
motivate you, right? I'm trying to prove and position that this thing is good for you. This thing is going to work for you. There's judgment in there, and
Mhm.
how that interplays and how we adopt that into our own world when we think about wanting to be motivated or inspired. Okay. I know for me, I shmush. I watch action flicks, and when I watch an action flick, I am motivated to go out and do the workout or do the thing because I want, yeah, right? Like I watch some Rocky and I'm all fired up and I'm like gonna run the stairs really fast,
Yeah, we're
right?
gonna go run some steps.
Or I'm gonna be out in the Russian tundra, like doing squats and deadlifts in the snow or something, right? I'm motivated.
Well, and it's funny too, she mentions this, and I remember hearing stories all the time of her watching her father watching Last of the Mohicans
100%.
and full, like on a treadmill with that thing full bore, and him just running watching Last of the Mohicans.
Incline 12, running.
Yes.
So
They're
yeah,
running up the mountain, right? He was part of the action.
Okay, Becky, so you were saying you were smushing. I wanted to see if I could pinpoint that. Was you relying on an external source for that motivation and the inspiration, instead of, coming within, you're keeping that on the external side as to keep that motivation. Is that
Yeah,
what I was picking up?
in my head, I use the word I want to motivate myself. So I'm going to go watch this show because the
Mhm.
show historically has helped me feel inclined to go do the exercise or whatever. But is it truly motivation that I'm looking for? Like, that's a great question. What do you think? Shane's shaking his head no. I think that was a no.
Yeah, no, I would say that's more inspiration than it is motivation because it's coming from an outside source. You see the movie, you get all like, just like Jane
But how
was
long
saying,
does it last, Shane? That's the question I'd be asking Becky.
like yeah. Well, for me, when I get that kind of inspiration, I maybe not even get like, I should go do this, and then I don't even get off the chair. So it don't
Well,
last
then
very
I
long
would
at all.
argue you're not actually inspired. That was very short-lived motivation.
I was like, I should really go do this. It'd make me feel good.
Yeah, and then you don't.
Yeah, then I don't. And
No,
if you don't
that's
do it, it doesn't count.
correct. And
You-
and if you get into if you don't do it, it doesn't count type of thing, where does that place the locus of control? In you or outside of you?
Outside.
Really? If you don't do it, it doesn't count. Say that to yourself.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, I just blurted that out without even thinking. Yeah, that would be an internal. I mean, that's your own deal. If you don't
Oh,
get out and
look,
do it.
look at your face, like how powerfully you're smiling there and what
Yeah.
you just felt. Like it's almost like whatever you pair that with, if you don't do it, if I don't do it, it doesn't count type of thing.
Yeah.
I put that into my head and I say that to myself. Am I going to likely want to do that?
Oh, 100%.
Exactly 100%. Because, you know,
100%.
at the end of the day, I'm in charge of me and I start feeling like I'm in charge of me.
Yeah, I'm just writing a quick note here. What is
Yeah.
that? Mel Robbins that has that book, 3, 2, 1, Go, or whatever that is. That's a pretty good, just 3, 2, 1, just do it. I mean, gives yourself doesn't give yourself an excuse to think of something else well, I can get distracted. So but that's a pretty good book.
Yep. The other thing that you can do is just, yeah, I wasn't going to share this, but on the weekend, I wound up breaking up with my girlfriend, okay, of 2.5 years. So, but driving back home, I wasn't as upset as I thought I should be. Like it didn't bother me as much as I thought it would. And it hasn't. And then there was one moment where I was walking back in and my hip, like you guys know, I need hip surgery and I'm on the list and stuff. But I was walking back in with a lot of groceries and my hip pinged on me. It says zap. And I go, and then I felt sad. I don't know exactly how come. Maybe I'm whatever. All the emotional stuff started coming out. But I give people this idea. Well, my mom actually taught it to me when I was like 4 or 5 years old, and she said, Blair, count out loud to 3, and I go 1, 2, 3. How do you feel, or are you okay right now? And the answer was yes. And so I did that walking through my rather long parking lot underneath, well, garage parking. So I had to walk to the elevator. And I counted to 3, asked myself, and I counted out loud. And I've tested this one a lot over the years. When you actually count out loud, you use a different part of your brain. You use you move it out of the amygdala into the motor cortex because you got to use your mouth and everything else and your prefrontal cortex. So you're moving it out of the emotional stuff and moving yourself into the present. Well, all of a sudden, I counted to 3 out loud, asked myself out loud. Unfortunately, I was the only person in the garage. Are you okay? Yes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, a little slower, but I did that again. Am I still okay? Yes. And I noticed a smile starting to come on my face because I knew I was okay. And I've been working with a lot of people lately that have got different types of issues and whatnot. And every time I catch them in that smile, the saying, what fires together wires together. But if I don't catch them in the smile, that moment just goes whooshing right through. And then they're back to where they were. But when I catch them in that smile and say, see, look it, you're smiling right now. And they put on a bigger smile. And they were upset, depressed, feeling off, doing whatever, 30 seconds ago. And now they aren't. And it changes state, but it changes the past, present, future tense of it and moves you absolutely into the present, powerfully present. And all of a sudden, everything drops into me because the smile is in me and I don't feel down. I feel partially inspired, but mostly motivated to continue on. And so by me saying things out loud, like counting out loud and asking myself the simple question of, am I okay right now? Yes, I am okay. I hear the feedback from outside of me into my ear, and I get to reinforce myself. And that's the really weird part of this, because I get to have that moment. And it's self-induced, but it still is that moment where I have taken charge of myself, brought myself into the present. I'm not feeling sad. I'm not feeling sorry. I'm not feeling anything. But that is so, so critical to catch yourself in that smile if you're doing this exercise to yourself and by yourself. Because if you don't, it'll go in one ear and out the other. It'll just wash over you and be gone. Anyway, and you're welcome, Colin. Yeah, Shane.
Well, Michael unmuted, and maybe he might have to. You have something to add, Michael?
Yeah, I'm just talking about inspiration versus motivation. For me, it feels like inspiration is more pulling people towards me. Motivation is trying to push them in the direction I want them to go. Because with my weight loss journey, I've had a whole lot of people recently telling me, like, wow, you really inspire me. Because of what you've done, I've started walking. But when I'm trying to coach people, I'm trying to push them in the direction that I want them to go, and I'm getting a whole lot of resistance and pushback. So
you're right, because you don't push people in coaching either. So yeah, I've got lots of skills and techniques and mind models to actually get into you so you could ask questions and then they come towards their goal because they have clarity on their goal and it becomes internal for them.
yeah,
Because this whole accounting thing was the whole thing of me having an issue outside of me and turning it into something that I was in control of and then I was in charge of and able to move myself forward and actually feel good about it. When just moments earlier, I wasn't. It's that transformational state and doing it intentionally.
And I love that phrasing, intentional state change.
Yep.
And the ebb and flow between inspiration and motivation is a very powerful one. And real quick, I would like to read a definition, then check in with Leslie. You look very thoughtful about this conversation.
And we got to get it back to Shane too, because Shane gave up his moment.
That's exactly where I was going to go, because Leslie and I had a conversation last night, and a few of these points, especially what Brent picked out about behavior, proven position, ask versus tell, curiosity.
Hmm.
We kind of went over that. So I was just going to do the same thing, Becky, and ask Leslie how well this fits in with what we talked about last night.
Do you mind if I read just 2 quick definitions? Because I think it will add depth and dimension to that dialogue. Is that all right? Shane, Leslie?
Yes,
That work?
perfect.
Okay. All right. So when we're talking about, do you want to read it? The definitions? I'll leave you
The
in.
definition. Okay, so yeah, the definition. We have first of all inspiration. It's theological roots, referring to divine influence, and it's the act of taking air into your lungs, the act of breathing, breathing into anything, infusion of ideas into the mind by extraordinary or supernatural influence, an external influence upon a person. So the big thing, key takeaway here with inspiration is it is external. It comes from an outside source, whereas motivation comes from within. It's internal. And it says here, relatively new word from 1870 to 75, providing a reason to act in a certain way, having a strong reason to act or accomplish something. And again, it's an internal driver resulting in you physically taking action.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, one of the key things that popped up here in the chat was, and I will get to you, Shane, in a second, but
First.
yeah, Jane, so saying it out loud makes the change happen? No. The process of saying it out loud and then catching yourself in the change makes it happen. Just saying it out loud and going, yeah, well, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm about the same. No, it's if you go, just test it with yourself and go, mentally prepare and go, okay, in this moment is where I'm at effective or ineffective? Ineffective. But am I okay? Yes, I'm okay. Count to 3. 1, 2, 3. Am I okay still? Yes. Count to 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Am I still okay? Yes. It's like this little micro smile on my face. I feel that smile. And when my brain acknowledges that sense, that felt sense of my smile on my face, that's what is, that is the change happening in me.
So
It doesn't make it happen. It has to be reinforced, because if I'm just doing this thing, whatever, the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, see, it didn't work. Yeah, well, it won't work if you're not looking for a change and seeing if you're still okay, especially when you weren't a moment before. You're trying to get compare and contrast, not prove to yourself that you're stuck. You
So
can do that too, by the way. It works really well. You can prove
So-
to yourself that you're stuck.
a question out of curiosity with that, Blair, is this purely self-motivation, or is it self-motivation and I'm going to call it self-inspiration?
Yes,
'Cause-
it is. It's
Okay.
you're using your voice
Yes.
to say it out loud to
To inspire.
inspire yourself to hear it, to notice the difference. And so when I've done this a lot back in the day at Life Skills, people would count in their head, nothing would change. So I started making them count like my mother did to me, count out loud. And they go, well, 1, 2. Well, and then like if they go 1, 2, and then I stop them. Listen, if you're going to actually put yourself in the headspace that this isn't going to work and you're just going to do it for me, forget it. Go away. Okay? You're wasting your time and mine. But if you're going to actually test to see if there is a change, then do it correctly, do it effectively. And they go, okay, fine. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and they start smiling because they sense, they feel the difference because they're moving from their past into the present. And this helps people get out of stuck states, out of moderately to mild depressive states, fear, all kinds of things. Okay, go for it, Patty.
Yeah, I was going to say, just to add a name and label, what you're actually talking about is curiosity. You're using curiosity with yourself, and curiosity being the only emotion that bridges from the back of the brain to the front of the brain. So asking those questions of yourself is the beginning of the state change. It's your brain has to move to the front to answer those questions, and then using the counting kind of drives it a little deeper that you're there, you're okay, you're all right.
And the counting makes it that you have to move your mouth, okay, consciously.
Yeah.
And the second that you do that consciously with your motor cortex and your prefrontal, you're engaging out of the amygdala, bringing it into, your motor cortex and your prefrontal cortex. All of a sudden, state changes happen.
You're using more of your whole brain.
Bingo.
When you're saying things out loud, because you're also using the temporal lobes where language is, the motor cortex. You're using a lot of, those are actually pieces that you bring into your phobia freedom formula.
Absolutely. I was actually going through this with, I'm working on some marketing for that. So that's where all of this stuff was. And I was watching Christy on her example of phobia fixer, doing the phobia fixer on her and seeing how she shifted. And it's so predictable. This micro smile, like going from here to here, just that big of a difference, almost nothing. And then catching and then checking in with how she's feeling now. It's like, oh yeah, this changes. This is shifted. But you have to acknowledge, like, what fires together wires together. I mean, I know it's a hackney phrase in neuroscience or overworked or whatever, but it's so true. It's so effective when you watch the physiological change and you see it, and that person can feel it inside of their body. It's huge. And Sadaf was one of the people, she's not on this call, but was one of the people that was absolutely terrified of cats. And she'd be standing, or before doing the phobia freedom formula, she'd be doing like this, like her knuckles were almost white with fear and everything else. And then she's done and she's shaking it off and just letting it go. And she's smiling and laughing. And I go, that's a state change. And that takes a physiological shift from a external thing of doing the phobia freedom formula into an internal thing. Then you catch it and reinforce it, and it locks it in permanently. And then the person is motivated to go, like literally self-motivated to go check out and see if she's terrified of cats. In other words, is she jumping up on chairs, raising her legs, and not letting a cat near her? Which is what the story she describes, to going to a friend's place that has a cat, let the cat smiling as the cat rubs up against her leg. Like, that did not happen since she was 5, and she's in her late 20s right now, and terrified all during that time.
I think it's a very powerful story in that the words, the phrases, you want to cycle back just till you said, like, what wires together fires together, and you can rewire your mind. Those phrases for me were extremely inspiring.
Yes.
Motivated me to actually check in with the mind models and actually do what was necessary to get more training from you, to be on the BDE, because I wanted to be more effective, is a very inspiring thing. And so sometimes I don't think that we're quite aware of just how much inspiration causes us or impacts the behaviors that we're doing. Just like you shared with Sadaf and the Phobia Freedom Formula, there's a lot of things that are going on in our world that play a very similar role. And I wanted to make sure that we captured and circle back to Leslie, because I know I've been wanting to check in with you for a bit. You've been looking very curious. And Shane's got a smile on his face like a Cheshire cat. So I'd love to, to check in with you guys. Leslie, what's coming up for you?
Well, it's interesting, and what I've considering as the discussion has progressed is that, yeah, motivation for me is very internal, and I will motivate myself to do things at the time that works for me to get it done. Right or wrong, it's sometimes it's motivated more by a clock and a deadline, but that's probably goes back to my construction training of being involved with tender closings and everything. You don't get the price in by a certain point of time in front of the owner or whoever it's called for the tender. You're not considered. It's as simple as that. So weeks of work can be for naught if you're not there at the time. So yeah, it's completely internal for me.
So I'm hearing self-motivation. Is that accurate? Motivation maybe for deadlines and things that have to be done, but self-motivation to tap into working it into your schedule where it works for you. Am I understanding correctly?
Yes. And understanding how long it's going to take, or determine how long it's going to take to do it, and then giving myself that minute so that it is done at the exact minute that it should be done.
The minute it should be done.
Bar the patience of those around me who like to motivate by guilt, you know. Or they're not motivated by guilt, who like to inspire by guilt.
Is it truly inspiration at that point?
Yeah, really, that's what I was thinking.
No.
Yeah.
So what is it really then?
It's threatened by guilt.
Threatened by guilt.
Yeah,
I'm kidding. I'm putting words in your mouth. Sorry.
I think, well, you know, do or die type of thing comes comes to mind. Or, you know, wrath.
So, you know, and as we were talking before, like there are some other things that go into it. So motivation can be motivated by deadlines, things that have to be done. But when we choose to adopt that, right, that self-motivation, which one has more of a lasting effect? What do you think? Shane, and then, or Leslie?
I guess when I choose myself, when I choose myself, when I make that choice.
When you make a choice, you feel what?
That it's the right thing to do to get going.
Your time? Well, so if it's your choice, I know for me, and I don't know if you can relate to this, when I get to choose, I am much more self-motivated to do things versus when I feel pressured or I have to do something. There's a lot more, I feel more inspired and then self-motivated to get it done because I have choice in the situation versus some obscure little deadline that I have to get done.
Exactly.
Shane, did you have something you wanted to add?
No, it's those shifts. Well, I say no, but then I go into talking. But it's those small those small shifts that we're trying to make, those incremental shifts, and behave into our patterns and behave into what we want to behave to.
Mhm. That's like incredibly powerful. When I, again, back in the day at Life Skills College doing research back in the 80s, a lot of things were, psychologists were talking a lot, well, all kinds of people were talking about decisions that we make, these decisions that we make. And so I decided to test it out. Which is more powerful, making a decision or making a choice? And it became hands down evident to me that when people had choice and they chose versus being asked to make a decision and acting on that decision, the odds of them moving forward on choice was like 80, 90%. The odds of them driving forward on a decision, depending on what it was around 50 to 60%. Like it was so different. And those people that went ahead with decisions found it more comfortable and satisfying with choice because they didn't feel the pressure.
Well,
And the cool thing was that if they laid out what they wanted to accomplish and then how they were going to accomplish it, the people with decisions would stick to the plan. But the people with choice would adjust and get their the thing that they wanted to accomplish done. It was a desired result versus a task and a goal. These are all the background pieces. And so that's how come I go after desired results and choice. And people are empowered by choice. People are driven by decisions, but empowered by choice.
well, that curiosity and that we were talking about the wire together, fires together. Brent said it earlier, that ask versus tell.
Yeah.
You can tell somebody what to do, they're going to go out and do it. Are they going to remember anything? Are they going to really be like, well, okay, I did it, now what? Or if you
Yep.
ask and you get them curious and you get that inside their own mind, then it sticks. The next time that situation comes up, oh, I remember this. Getting yourself, your kids, your grandkids, somebody you're coaching, getting them resourceful and getting them to think about it makes a huge difference. Does it not, Leslie?
Yeah. Did it not?
Yeah.
Did it not,
Was that the
Leslie?
question? Yeah, it
Yeah.
did. Yeah, absolutely.
It's about resourcefulness,
Yeah.
not solutions. It's about getting resourceful so you can find solutions, not find a solution.
Yeah. That's what Shane was alluding to in our discussion last night and I'm looking at my notes from that, and one of the things that I've highlighted was need to be more resourceful in looking at how to get out of these things that are making me stuck. And we came up with some. Actually,
No.
I came up with them.
Thank you.
Shane led asked questions that helped me come up with those choices.
Well done.
And,
Oh my gosh, Shane, you little coach, you.
Gold
he's
stars.
yeah.
Very well done, Shane.
Yes.
Leslie, awesome job recognizing it. And now when you look at that and you think about that, how do you feel about the result of that conversation that you had? Do you feel stuck?
Not as stuck. No, there's still issues
Of
that
course.
will be resolved in time, but I was able to move forward and make progress on the day
Perfect.
without getting hung up on those issues that are yet to be resolved.
See, because you move from a problem to sit, as you're saying this, if you hear what you said, to situations that just need to be resolved.
Yeah.
Like, look at you, because we get stuck on decisions. Okay? We lack motivation on decisions. We get inspired by choice. The choices other people have had and the choices we have. And we get resourceful to get a result when we have choice, because we can choose to change our direction, our path, our way of getting to that desired result. But we're far more likely to be able to get to a desired result than a goal. People have trained themselves to give up on goals. How many of us have set our goals at New Year's Eve goals? Like things we want to, or resolutions that we want to do. And how long do they last? They last maybe a few days, maybe a week or two. But if you set desired results and clarify those and get clear results. And by the way, written goals are the same thing, more or less, as desired results. I can't find a lot of difference. But when we hold goals in our mind or set things just as a goal without a path and a choice to get there, choosing to get there. So writing things down as a desired result is the best way to get whatever you want. And that's self-inspiration again.
Colin, what are you pulling from this conversation? Thank you for sharing, Blair. Is there anything that you'd like to add to the conversation?
Just looking up the stats on New Year's resolution follow through because I had forgotten what the numbers were.
I saw the
But,
information come in your eyes look like you were pulling something up, or that you were testing something.
Yeah, let's see, 8% of the respondents tend to stick with their goals for 1 month. I don't know. I'd have to look at it more, but apparently there's something called Quitter's Day, which is like the day that you are most likely to
Quitter's
quit
Day.
by.
Oh man.
That's hilarious.
And that is actually in January.
Is it?
I believe so. I remember driving around to go, this is Quitter's Day. Like, for all of you that went out there and decided to try to get your
January
resolution.
17th, it looks like.
Yeah.
Quitter's Day. Oh, some places say January 9th or something. Yeah, it's like a weekend or something.
Exactly.
I want to pause for just a second. Lise, good to have you with us. Good to see your face. It's been a little bit. We're talking about the difference between inspiration and motivation, just to kind of fill you in on where the conversation's been tonight. Good to have you with us.
Yep.
Thank you. It's nice to be here as well.
All right.
Yep. Great to see you.
So one of the things that was posed, and I think this may be the last talking point before we move into wrap up due to time, is thinking about inspiration points in your life and how it may have fueled where you are today. Has there been anything that has been a significant inspiration to you that has guided you to where you are now? Anyone care to share? I know I have quite a few, but I'd love to hear from other people. Shane?
Yeah, I mean, when Christy and I started out, well, first of all, I mean, married young, kids young, people chattering, oh, they'll never make it. They'll never make it. And then we've been together a good chunk. And then we had the opportunity we both come from ranching backgrounds, but we had the opportunity to lease this place and then purchase it. And all the naysayers, oh, you can never do it. You can never start. You got to be born into it, bred into it, marry into it. Somebody die and leave it to you. It's the only way you can get started in agriculture. And there's a lot of naysayers that said it'll never work. You can't do it. And that was inspiration for me to you just hide and watch. I will, Christy and I will. We will do it. We will succeed. So
So
outside sources, yeah, I guess that's kind of a negative outside source, but it still inspires me that I will prove you wrong.
Yep. It's definite inspiration.
And then seeing my little grandkids, Papa, just they inspire me to be a better human every day. Last week hauling cows, I got 95,000 things going through my mind and got to get this done, got to get that done. And Papa, we load more cows? Can we help? Papa. And I have that moment of, I just got to get this done. I'm like, no, whatever you got to do, it'll get done whenever you get it done. Take 5 minutes, talk with these little girls, show them that you love them, and let them be involved. Great.
that.
I'll choke up, but great source of inspiration right there.
Love that.
Yep.
I think that our children, our families provide a lot of inspiration. Our social environment, people that are closest to us often can provide a lot of that inspiration for us to behave and act and grow. And again, the piece though to think about is your ownership of that inspiration is what drives your motivation, your self-motivation to do the things, right? That cyclical nature.
Mm-hmm.
Christy, I'd like to check in with you. Anything coming up for you that you'd like to share?
Just to kind of piggyback off what Shane says, we do a lot of the being motivated, saying, I need to do this, I need to do this. And then shifting to I want to do this, because then it shows the influence and those kind of things too. I wrote a lot of stuff today in between things, and then listening to everybody talk, it just kind of I don't even know the word right now, but just like shifting my focus on, instead of what I need to do, as in like the actions, the motivation part, to, who is it I want to become, the inspire part, or inspiration, inspire, when Leslie was talking about watching the clock to be motivated about a time thing, which same thing with me at the end of the month, and then here's the first already and I'm a little behind. But people coming to my house, kind of not necessarily last minute, but hey, that's a really big motivator for me. And I clean the house like no other when somebody's coming in an hour. I can get so much done. And I'm just like, why? Not why, but I should do this more often than just at those moments. But anyway, so what did you say?
Good catch on that why. You changed that. Good job, baby.
Thanks. Anyway, so yeah.
Thank you for sharing, Christy. Because again, it's interesting how sometimes our language, I alluded in the beginning, like I shmush. A lot of the things that I say or I'm motivated by, or I want to be motivated by, that I'm looking for an external source to be motivated is really I'm seeking inspiration that then I can own to create my process and to stay motivated. So watching the show and those kinds of things. And so I'd like encourage you guys to think about it as you guys move this weekend. Where is it showing up for you? How are you interfacing with inspiration? What things inspire you? Where do you feel like super driven or connected or self-motivated? And how can you leverage what you know about the mind models to allow that to enhance whatever it is you're working on in that growth space? And I think we're at a point now for wrap up. So Blair, do you have any final words before we start that?
No. Well, probably something's going to fall out of my mouth any second here. So yes. I enjoy when I figured out the difference between inspiration and motivation. it gave me a lot of clarity. And I was able to describe how I felt being inspired and then being motivated. And that gave me a sense of knowing how to influence others, but manage or control myself, if you will, and feel the difference between what I can do and how I can say it, and what can I say to others that is in complete alignment with myself, so that things can be said and stated congruently. And all of a sudden, things started getting easier when I was congruent with myself and sharing things congruently with others. That made a difference to me because I was able to say what I meant and mean what I say. And that got easier. And when I drop that in my life, when I forget that, and I don't manage myself to that standard, my life degrades in quality. But when I remember that, my life goes up. The quality of my living goes up. So there you go.
Thank you, Blair. Colin, do you want to go ahead and lead us on wrap up and then go from there?
Yeah, sure. Leslie, do you want to kick it off tonight?
He was busy writing.
Yes, thank you. I was
Yeah.
making notes. Sorry. A 9 for me tonight. Um, Interesting enough, at the beginning, I was a little lost with the difference between inspiration and motivation. But through the discussion, it did come together of understanding it, which is good. And also clarifying in my own mind once again what really motivates me. Yeah, it is sometimes controlled by time, but there are other things too that motivate me, and it's positive. And certainly sharing with my conversation with Shane last night, yes, very positive, very positive. Breaking it down to simple things that are and being able to choose.
Yep.
Choose where I'm at, choose what's going to work. It's very powerful.
Thanks for
Let's make
sharing.
that 9.5 tonight.
All right. Bumped up a notch. Great. Let's see. Jane, would you like to participate in the wrap up tonight?
Thank you. Okay, so big red letters. Say it out loud. Check it. Is it real? Are you feeling it? Say it again. Check it. Is it real? Are you feeling it? Say it out loud again. Check it. Have I felt it? It's huge. So I'm going to be with Leslie, 9.5.
All right. Thank you, Jane.
You're welcome.
Let's see. Michael, would you like to participate in the wrap up tonight?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to go 9.51.
One up.
Yeah, I would say that part of the Price is Right, but here I am. So I would say driven by decision, empowered by choice, and also the importance and power of asking questions to motivate others, as opposed to trying to push them to follow the motivation I'm trying to inspire upon them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you for sharing. Lise, would you like to participate in the wrap up tonight?
The well, the thing that is I find interesting for this topic, inspiration and motivation, is when somebody walks the talk and talks the walk, like as it's I believe I forget who it is that brought it up earlier, but it's when Blair was saying being congruent is being authentic. So it's basically do I want to say no? And it like if I'm saying yes, like so just to take a step back, observe, and just say, okay, the inspiration, take a moment to breathe, and then motivation. So it's still a work in progress, but clarifying it definitely is something that is very helpful. So thank you for asking. And just being here tonight for me, it's like definite 9.5. I missed the beginning, but the theme is pretty good.
Yeah, well, thank you for being here and thanks for sharing.
You're welcome.
Let's see. Yeah.
It's I just wanted to say that it's very inspiring with it's educational, but also so many good things, gold nuggets come out of it. So I motivate myself to attend when I can.
Mm-hmm. That's the self-motivation. Yeah. Shannon, I see that you're here. Would you like to participate in the wrap up?
There we go. All right. This kind of felt like a lovely reset because my mind there's some things that felt very heavy this week, yesterday and today. It's only Tuesday, but it feels like it's been all week. And it's one of those things that when you start to go through material like this, because I am a very self-motivated person, but looking at tracing those things down to the roots and what things actually do, that a lot of that is unconscious competence for me, but it was fascinating to think about tracing those down to the roots and to take some notes on just observing myself. And when I feel heavy and when I feel stuck, what things are getting in the way. And so one of the things that popped up for me is to be reasonable with myself and situations. We can have all of the desired results in the world. But if there are external circumstances that might be reasonable blocks, you know what I mean? To be able to acknowledge those, it does no good to beat my head against a wall wanting something that just is physically not reasonable. So I think that the conversation was very uplifting and it felt like it took some of that heaviness away just listening to everybody. Blair, in the very beginning, when you were talking about reinforcing catching yourself or someone else, what are some of the phrases or words that you use when you catch someone else? Because that part was a light bulb moment for me when I use that. Because I'll have those moments where my mom will actually do that on me and I'll be so annoyed, but I can't help but smile. And then I'm like, okay, fine. But knowing to look for it now is really, really key. But I wondered, could you repeat some of the things you say when you catch other people?
I just go, did you feel that? Did you
Okay.
see that? Did you notice that? And I say it like I just said it. Okay?
Mhm.
Yeah,
The
Shane,
energy.
don't blare me.
The energy of it, though, is important, the tone. So.
It is because you need to punctuate that to
Mhm.
wire the brain.
Yeah.
You wire the mind by energy.
Mhm.
And so you have to notice when your body is leaking that smile, it's
Mhm.
positive energy. And you go, hey, this is working. You got to punctuate that.
Mhm.
And when you do it, you can do it to you. I do it to myself. I live alone now. Okay.
Mhm.
So I'm living by myself. I have to do this to myself. Otherwise, I could just go right down the tubes.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that was really tremendous. I also appreciated your comment. You said, because you can do it and not really be, wanting an effective result. And when you were like, you're looking for a chance, or sorry, my handwriting. You're looking for a change, not to prove to yourself that you're stuck.
Right.
That comment. And that was also really clarifying because I've used that process many times before and I've had it used on me. But to be able to fine tune that a little bit more with the details that we talked about tonight was really, really, really valuable and encouraging.
Yep.
And there
I
was
mean,
some, go ahead. Yeah.
well, technically, this is how I coach when people are in a depressed state.
Okay.
So one of the things here is, yeah, I've got to build a relationship sufficient for them to trust me to move forward. But once they get a little bit of that, and that doesn't take long, usually between 5 and 30 minutes, depending on where they are, and they choose to listen to me with less resistance. But when they share and I catch a state change in them, like them going from very depressed to less depressed, I go, hold it. Did you notice that? You're not as depressed as you were. What happened? And they go, what? Yeah. Like that what? Well, you're not sounding as depressed as you were like when we first started talking. Are you? No. Well, what happened? And you cause them to explore their shift internally to reinforce the shifting, that they don't have to be depressed necessarily.
Yeah.
That's crucial. That creates positive state change.
Yeah.
And you've just reinforced it.
Mhm.
So the next time that happens, it's, wow, you're smiling. Oh my God, I didn't think you could ever smile. And they go, what? And they get like this stupid grin on their face some of the time, and they're now not depressed. Like, again, going over all of those videos today for Phobia Freedom Formula and seeing people literally behaving terrified, hands clasped, like eyes like this. Oh my God. And, the stuff about, just terrorized, squeezing my husband's hand, really, really hard, and tears pouring down my face. And then all of a sudden, well, that's not happening. I'm okay. No hot flashes, no nothing. State changes. I didn't ask them. They volunteered that for their state change because they noticed the difference. That's the powerful thing. Once you can start noticing you're shifting, you can start setting yourself up for success in and self-inspire, then self-motivate. But you got to catch the change.
Yeah. No, this was a great one tonight. It was a 9 for me. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Shannon. Brent, would you like to participate in the wrap up tonight?
Yes. First, thanks, Becky, for calling on me earlier. I appreciate that. Yeah, I was a little bit hesitant to participate and jump in there, so I appreciate that. Thank you.
Brent, before you go on
Yes.
further, I just want to say your listing off of the mind models was frickin' encyclopedic. So thank you. It was awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah, very, very well done. Yep. I mean, we have a cheat sheet here, and you'll get it on the BDE insider notes. But all of these, you listed off all of the mind models, I think, that were on our cheat sheet, our lesson plan, as it were, and you did it all off the top of your head.
Hmm.
And maybe a couple more, actually. So it was like, holy shit. Pardon my French, but oh my gosh.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I've been working on that, trying to read them
Yeah.
up, read on the notes, and so keep it in front of mind. And with the inspiration and motivation, I've been in a little slump this past couple weeks, and just really digging out of it. But I come in here, and it gives me inspiration. That's why I like coming here, because it does that every week.
Yep.
Provides me with that little bit of boost energy. So I enjoy it. Plus, I like to learn. So I want to find out if there's anything I'm missing, something new to learn.
Yep.
So I did enjoy the new digging in a little more that questioning and like at the end there with Shannon, that was something I was able to get some more information on as well with that and what that does, the questioning and pointing out what those changes, those points of change, be able to use that in like coaching. So make sure I take
Absolutely.
notes and be able to see those points and point them out. So I give tonight a 9 for me. Well, more like I would say 9.5. Yeah, yeah,
Do
yeah,
you want to bump that up another 0.02 just to get ahead of Michael?
yeah. 9.7,
9.52.
9.52, 9.55. I guess.
Yeah, exactly. There we go.
Excellent. Thanks, Brent. Shane, would you like to participate in the wrap up tonight?
Absolutely. Yeah. When Brent was rattling off all those mind models pertaining to inspiration, motivation and I put it in the chat for you, Brent. Very inspiring. You did a wonderful job. Very, very wonderful. No, just talking about all this stuff. Anytime we do any Blair stuff, the time just goes by so fast. So much knowledge, so much stuff to get a hold of, but you're so intrigued, so interested, so absorbent that the time just flies away. But yeah, everything we talked about, proven position, ask, tell, curiosity. I lead back to that Blair's saying if I don't do it, it doesn't count. So yeah, a solid 9.75 for me tonight.
Thanks, Shane. Christy, would you like to participate in the wrap up?
Yes. And am I the last one so I can pick the biggest number?
You're not the last one, but you're welcome to pick the biggest number.
I kind of totally agree with being you people, all of you inspire me and motivate me even to like digging more and more into the mind models and being a part of the group for as long as we have been and really getting a good hold of what they all are and how beneficial they all are. Is such motivation to use day to day and all the time and with everybody. And well, with everybody as in my direct people right around me, even my kids and they, they have been asking a lot more questions that you didn't realize on now it's kind of differently how you answer them sometimes. Just I don't always give them the answer. I just kind of lead them with the questions on, whatever. And somebody was saying something earlier about motivation and being super excited and all this. And at that moment I was like, yeah, motivation for me is sometimes like a high and I can get so much done and it's so exciting and awesome and I feel really great. And then I crash and then it's like, oh, but when I'm inspired, it's like an accomplishment. I feel at peace. I feel, like well done kind of thing. And then I know Becky had said something earlier at the very beginning about the motivation and stuff with the mind models and the things in that. And then just that I totally feel that. And that just all of you guys inspire me and definitely look forward to not being late like I was today, but it's really just, it's a really big deal to be here and show up. And so 9.99.
Thanks, Christy. I'm glad you do show up. Becky, would you like to participate in the wrap up tonight?
Yes. Christy, you took a number. I can't go higher. So 9.999. This really isn't a rating one-up show, but no, honestly, inspiration versus motivation is a really cool one, and it's been interesting for me personally as I've seen how it works in my world. I used to feel like inspiration, that it was alluded to smushing in the beginning. I used to think and feel very much that inspiration was a weight. I needed to be inspiring, or somebody told me that I was inspiring. I felt an obligation. I have to be now. I have to be inspiring. The way I show up needs to be a certain way. And it was really cool to be able to take the mind models and, deconstruct like who owns what. We don't get to choose whether or not we're inspirational for another human being. And you likely, every single one of you on this call, is inspiring to someone else. Whether they tell you or whether it's just something that's happening on the aside, each one of you as an individual provides inspiration for another human being, which is a very cool thing because of the way in which you authentically show up in simply your way of being. And so understanding the difference between inspiration and motivation and how we can actually get use, not to decrease the value of these, like using it tactically as a tool, but to really harness the power of how it actually shows up in our lives, is I think is a very big deal. And I know for me, understanding what inspires me and how that directly correlates to my way of being has been a very big deal. I'm extremely inspired by people who overcome, and that has been in my world for a very long time. And because of that, it fueled my self-motivation when faced with own struggles and trials to lean a little bit more. It's all these stories out there of people who have faced the unimaginable and have chosen to embrace it and grow. That to me is inspiring. And it's that cyclical nature of self-motivation that then, whether I'm aware of it or not, it's not an obligation, but it is an offering and a gift that each one of us gets to share with those people who come in contact with us, which I think is a very powerful thing. So I appreciate you guys all showing up, leaning in, and being willing to share.
Thank you, Becky. I realized I forgot to go myself, so Tim, I'll give you an extra 10 seconds here to think if you need it. I'll go real quick. It's an 8.5 for me tonight. I really think my key takeaways were the calling out state changes and getting some specific language and energy around that. So thanks for that, Blair and Shannon, for bringing that up again in your wrap up. Tim, would you like to participate in the wrap up?
Yeah, I'd love to. So tonight's a 9.5 for me. I really enjoyed Blair's story of what he did with himself, as creating that state change for himself, noticing the state change. Because if you've been around Blair for a while, I've worked with Blair for a little bit, and those times Blair's done it to me where he's, did you notice the smile? Did you feel that? Did you see that? And I'm like, and at first it's like, huh? But it's important to be aware of those shifts, those moments, because if you're not noticing them, again, that inspiration piece is not there. It's, it doesn't feed the forward movement and the effective process. And so I loved hearing the story that Blair shared about doing it with himself. And, we really can be self-motivating and self-inspiring. And we really can notice those shifts and do the things, talking to ourselves. And it's not, as I remember hearing on one of Blair's trainings before, it's not actually crazy to talk to yourself. There are some people out there in the world, as he shared it, as I remember, there are some people out there in the world that are crazy that talk to themselves, and then there's those who talk to themselves that are not crazy, and you'll notice the difference.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's there really is a power in being a self-motivation and then noticing how talking to yourself and the things that the questions you're asking yourselves and those things, noticing those shifts and being able to be effective in your process moving forward. So I appreciated the reminder and the story that you shared, Blair. So
You're welcome.
Tim. Patty, would you like to participate in the wrap up tonight?
Yeah, I would. As Tim said, the using that counting and that kind of thing, checking in with yourself, doing that on yourself. I've done it with a lot of other people, especially small children, and found it very effective, but I hadn't even considered using it on myself. So I found that to be really interesting. Lise, I want to say I'm very pleased to see you come. Even when you come late, it's always a joy to see you. So I'm glad that you take that time, even though it's kind of at the end of things. You are very always welcome. And what I am pulling from this is the relationship between inspiration and motivation really ties to hope for me. That when I am inspired and that leads to that self-motivation, I remember, hearing Blair on stage in Las Vegas and being really inspired. And that inspiration created hope that, oh my gosh, there is something I could do that could make a difference in my life. And then that led to the motivation to haunt him, track him down, figure out how do we connect. But I was motivated to take a chance on my models and Blair by the inspiration he created on stage. And the combination of those two led to hope for a different future, a different possible future. So we can't change our future, but we can certainly change our trajectory. And the hope for a different possible future was a really big deal, and still is, to be honest. So 9-5 for me tonight.
Cool. Thank you, Patty. Blair, would you like to wrap up the wrap up?
Yeah. Then who do I hand it off to take us out? Okay, Tim. Thank you. Tonight was a fun night for me in a number of ways. Getting a little bit more comfortable in sharing the details, the real little mental secrets that I've learned, how people respond, and just knowing to look for these incredibly small, incredibly simple things that most people ignore. It's what Dean Warren of Kwantlen University psychology department said, Blair, your superpower, more or less, I'm paraphrasing here, taking liberties, is obnosis. And it's the ability to notice not the merely obvious, but the incredibly obvious. And the incredibly obvious is what most people ignore. Like a smile that pops on somebody's head. Most people don't comment on that small smile. I do, because that's the moment that their brain fired differently. And then when you get excited about it and go, look at what you just did. Look at that. They go, what? Yeah, look at that. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. I saw the difference. That is like reinforcement of the positive shift, and it changes people almost effortlessly. All I got to be is do two things: notice and get excited about it, and point that out. Profoundly powerful in my career. So enjoy, like use it on yourself. Like, yeah, Patty, I do it on myself. You know, I wound up doing it today, like I shared, just back single again and noticing where I am and had a slightly difficult moment for about 5 seconds, literally 5 seconds, because my hip pinged, like zinged my leg, and I'm feeling sorry for myself. Well, do I need to be there? No. Does it still hurt? 10 seconds later, is it still hurting? No, it's not. But my mood had shifted, and I go, for what? For a momentary shot of pain that hurt? Do I need to go down the dumps? No. So am I okay now? Yep. And do the counting thing that I explained. That is so simple and so manageable and so exciting and so profoundly shifting. I don't have to be all up in the muck or down in the dumps. I get to choose. So tonight, I'd give this a 9.999.
And we end with a tie.
9. Another 4 nines. Point
We're not competitive at all.
Did I hear a 10 tonight? Did anybody give it us a 10?
I was gonna say, just go for the 10.
Yeah,
I was gonna
really.
say, come on.
No. It was funny. Thank you, Lise. Okay, fine. Yeah, it was just funny to do that, so I did it. Anyway, guys, thank you so much. And Tim, take us out.
Excellent. Well, thank you everybody for coming on live with us tonight. Thank you everybody who's on YouTube. Just as a quick reminder, if you guys enjoyed what you heard tonight, if you've been around for a little while on YouTube or live with us, Blair does have that study guide for $25 a month, $300 a year. This is where you can get from episode 318 to current, which is 338, this episode tonight. And this is all the historical notes and the in-depth details and things on the different mind models that we've been talking about. And it actually goes into, as Brent was sharing tonight with us, as he shared all of those wonderful mind models, those are in those study guides and they do go in depth. So recommend that you grab those study guide notes. Just as a reminder as well that the next 5-day business challenge that Blair has coming up is April 7th through the 11th. Again, the time for that is 10 to 11 a.m. Mountain and 9 to 10 Pacific, which is also for those of you on the East Coast is noon to 1. So you can grab the link. You can go to rewiringthemind.com/challenge-opt-in-page. And that you can get on that 5-day business challenge that he's got coming up in April. And then for those of you on YouTube, we'd appreciate it if you guys would drop a comment. If you like tonight, if you can give it a thumbs up and tell your friends and share with those that might benefit from learning more about the mind models. We are here every Tuesday night from 7 p.m. Mountain or 9 p.m. Eastern. And we'll be here next week, next Tuesday. So tell your friends, come out and join us. And for those of you, again, live and on YouTube, we thank you for being here and look forward to next time. Thanks, everybody. Take care.